Hi everyone, so in this video I'll show you how to be able to do application using ReactJS. So before I proceed, I'll also show you guys the features of this to-do application instead. So right there, you can come over here and add a new to-do item. I could say, let's just say learn Python. Let's add that, learn Python. Click on the add button. We have Python added already. I could come here, I could update a given to-do. I could just come here, click on, I want to update this. I could change from learn JavaScript to learn Java, and then click on add. It has been updated, you understand? So I could delete as much as I like. I could remove this, it has been deleted. I could, on default, these to-dos are being set to active. Their status are all active. So I could come over here and set them to completed. Let's assume I've launched Java, I've read a book. I could come over here and set these to-dos to active, to completed, you get. So I could click on this checkbox, completed, and I can come here and filter based on their status. So if I click on completed, I'm going to only have the completed to-dos on the screen. So click there, so filter, so you can see I only have the completed items on the screen instead. So in this video I will show you how to build a to-do application with these features. So we're going to be using ReactJS, so see you in the video. So right now let's create our React application instead. So I'm going to be using Vite. So open your command prompt. So here's my command prompt. So let's create our React application. So my command prompt is coming up, so it's up already. So I'll go into my desktop directory, cd desktop, enter. Once I've done this, I'm going to create a new directory. I'll say mkdir. I will just say react underscore to do, enter. Once I've done this, I need to go into this directory. So say cd react underscore to do. So once I've done this, let me just make this bigger. Okay, I think it's better now. So once I'm in this directory now, I'm going to create my React application using Vite. So I'll say npm create Vite. So it's going to take quite some time, but wait for it. Okay, so right now I'm going to give my project a name. So I'm going to call it to do app. So enter. So you're going to pick, so you just use your arrow keys to pick React, you understand? So you have a list here, so I'm going to pick React there with my arrow keys, enter. So then pick JavaScript, enter instead. So once we've done that now, so I'm going to go into this folder called to do app. So say cd to do app. So we're going to run npm install to install all the dependencies for this project instead. So run npm install, so enter. So it's going to take quite some time to install all the dependencies for this project, you get. So right now it is installing, but it's going to take some few seconds to install everything. Okay, right there we've been able to install the dependencies for this project, you understand? So what we're going to do now, we're going to simply open this directory with VS Code. So we're going to say code then dot. So currently opening directory with VS Code. So our VS Code is going to come up right now. Okay, so currently it's open on VS Code, so let's continue. So just click on your terminal on top, then new terminal. So you need to run the server. Okay, so right now you need to run this last command called npm run dev. You need to run this last command. So go down to VS Code and then npm run dev. So once you've done that, our React app is up and running already, so it's going to take quite some time to run. So while it's running, we need to create some files. So I'm going to create a folder in this source directory. So let's create this folder called we are going to name this folder components. You can call it whatever name you like, you can choose whatever name you like. So I'm calling my components, so components, enter. So once we've done this now, okay, let's just give this some time to run. Okay, so our React app is already up and running. So just hold down Control and click on this link, or you hold down the Command key if you're on Mac and click on this link. So once you do that, you have a React landing page on your browser. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, so it's coming up. So here is it on the page. So that shows that React is running successfully. That shows that React is running on your PC. So let's continue. Okay, so right now I already made the components folder inside of this source folder. So I'm going to create 3 files inside of this component. So let's create these files. So the first file is going to be called to do search .jxx. The next one is called, let's call it to-do filter .jxx, and the last one is called to-do lists .jxx. So you have these three components. You can see I'll show you what they do. So this to-do search represents this search box we have on top. The to-do filter represents this filter box, while your to-do list represents this list of to-dos. That's what the to-do list represents, you understand? So you can see we have three components, three files that represent the three components we are going to be building, you understand? So let's continue. So just over here, I'll use a React snippet to create our components. I'll use a React snippet called ReactJS. So this is a component. So for you to use this snippet, just go down to your extension and search for ReactJS. Sorry, search for EX7. So you're going to see an extension. So it's a pop-up right now. So right now we're going to, so this extension, the fourth one, just click on it, the one called EX7 plus React/Redux/React Native. So this, so if you just need to install this extension, and you're going to simply have this snippet working on your end, you understand? So that's just it. Okay, so let's continue now. So I already have my components created, so I'll do the same thing for my filter. So RAFCE done, and for the to-do search, the three of them, RAF and then CE. Okay, so that's done. So now we have our three components. Okay, what we need to do now is this: I need to import all these components into the base component, which is called the app.jxx. So over here, so we have the default code there. So I'll remove everything, remove all of them, we don't need it. So leave. So now I'm going to simply call this, I'm going to call my parent container dot, I'm going to call it to do container, or say dot to do container. So use my parent's container. So that's it. Okay, so we have that already. Once we have that, then I can import those components already created. So I'm going to call the first one is called to do search. So click on it. Okay, that's it. The next one is called to do filter. So click on that. It's in. The last one is called the to do list. So they're all inside now, they're all in our app.jxx. So let's see. So I'm gonna remove this count, we don't need it. So all this stuff on top, we don't need them anymore. So they're all gone. Okay, now so I think let's see the browser, let's see what it looks like. Okay, you can see we have those three. We have our three components in our app component, right? We have the three of them. Okay, so let's continue. We are not done, we're just starting. So what's the next step now? So right now I need to go copy the actual components for these three files. To do search, I need to go copy the actual code. We are not going to be using just this to do search you see here. So let's go get the actual codes for these three components. So I'll copy them and paste them here, and I'll explain what they are doing. Okay, so I already copied the actual HTML for each of the components. So you could look at our to-do search. We have a search bar there. We have a form for the to-do search. For the to-do search file, we have a form there with an input field and a submit button. For the to-do filter, we simply just have a select field with two options. You understand? So I'll add one more option there. Okay, let's leave it for now with the two options. And for the to-do list, we have our actual list of to-do items. You understand? So we have the actual list of to-do items from our to-do list. So here is it. So these are the to-do items. You can see them, they're all here. Okay, so let's see what it looks like on the page. Let's see what it looks like. So you have this, it's not looking fine yet. So what we need to do now is I need to add the styles for this. So I already copied the styles, so I need to go add it into our index.cxx instead. So where is it over here? So here is it. So I remove what we have here, clear everything, Control A, remove it, and then you paste, let's paste our own custom styles. So we check the browser again. You can see it's looking fine. So it's looking like what we have, what we've done, what we have here, you understand? So it's looking like this. So continue now. So what we need to do now is so we want to go get some icons like the pen icon, the trash icon, to represent the delete, to represent the edit and delete buttons you get. So we're going to use React icons for this. So just search for React icons. So enter. So now we are already on the React icons page. So once you're there, so before we proceed now, we need to go install the React icon library. So let's create a new PowerShell. So you need to install the React icons library first. So it's necessary. You can see here the first thing they said here, npm install React icons. So let's go install it. Okay, so right now let's install React icons. So just run npm install React icons. So it's going to install that. So while it installs, let's go get some of the icons we need. We just need some of these icons. So just click over here, click on this search on the left, on the top left, and just search for, I'm going to call this pen. So what's happening? Pen, yeah, sure. Okay, enter. So I'm going to, let's just search for edit or edit pen. So I can't find the kind of pen I'm looking for. Edit. So please don't waste time. Okay, so let's see if we find. Okay, I'll go with this one. So click on this. So choosing that, I've copied the code already. So just come over here. Okay, so go down to the to-do list file. That's where I'm going to use this pen icon. So I'll just paste it here. So put in the yeah, and then paste, Ctrl V, and then close it. So that's it. TB edit. So let's go get the trash button, the trash can. So just call this delete icon. What's happening? Delete. Okay, TE. So let's just pick one of these. So I think I'll go with this. Okay, come over here, and then just put in, and then you close it. So that's it now. So you need to import this. So we need to import these icons from React icons. So just go down to the browser, click on the, so you can see here, so just you can see how they did this. Just copy this, Ctrl C, to your VS Code. Just on top, you paste here. So you're going to import this TB edit, Ctrl C. So I'm going to paste it just up here. So you paste that there. So I'm going to simply suffix this. So you're going to put in TB. You can see we have a prefix called TB here. So that prefix is going to also come here. So replace FA with TB. So that is it. So do the same thing for the trash icon. So put it here. So I'm going to copy this. MD delete, Ctrl C, paste that here. And I'm going to replace TB with MD. So that's that. So once we've done that, so go to the browser. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, please load up. Okay, so right now you can see the icons on the page. Okay, we want to put them. So we need these icons inside of these buttons. So let's place these icons inside these buttons. So let's go do that. So copy, Ctrl C for this. So we're going to simply remove this font awesome HTML code and paste your React icon. So you copy this for trash and you paste over here. So remove the font awesome icon there, you paste it. So that's it. So move it from the top here. So let's see how it looks like. Okay, you can see there it's looking small. So let's increase the size. So just come over here. So I'm going to say size equal to, let's just say 25. Let's see how it looks now. Okay, it's big now. So do the same thing for the delete size, then equal to 25. So I think it's better now. So okay, that is it. So we can just simply duplicate this. Okay, let's remove all these guys, remove them, remove. Okay, so I've removed the unwanted list items. So I'll just duplicate this. Let's just say Ctrl C, paste and paste. So let's see. So we just have 3 of it. So that's that. So now right now I want to start. Let's get to work now. So I'm going to go down to my app component app.jxs. So I'm going to declare a state now, a state that holds all the to-do items. So I'm going to simply come here and say let's say to-dos, then the function that helps to update our state. So set to-dos. So once we've done that, so we're going to say equal to use state, and it's going to be equal to an array of objects, you understand? So let's proceed. I'm going to simply copy this array of objects so we don't have to waste time. Okay, so I've copied it, so just paste here, Ctrl V. So that's it now. So we have a list of to-do items. We have 4 objects, understand? So each of these objects have an ID property, the task property, and the status property. So we have 3 properties for each object, understand? So if you check closely, the IDs are all unique, so no 2 to-dos can have the same ID, understand? Okay, so now we have our to-do items here. Perfect. So what we want to do next, we want to pass these to-dos to the list components. I'll show what I'm talking about. So right now these are our list components. So we want to pass those to-do items to these components we have here, this list components, the last component on the screen. So how do you go about that? We check closely. These to-dos are all on the app component, so we need to pass this to this component we have here. So we're going to use a prop to pass these to-dos to this child component called to-do list. So just come down there, and I'll simply say to-dos. This is simply a variable name, and the value is going to be what we declared up here called to-dos, understand? So I will call it to-do items, so I could separate their names, to-do items. Let's call it to-dos rather. So that's the best one. To-dos equal to, so it's going to be equal to this state we created up here. This is state to get. So copy. So just come over here and paste it to-dos. So right now we have access to this to-dos item on the list page, but we are not done. Go down to the list page. So on that page now, we also need to accept it here. So we are going to simply put in the name of the variable called to-dos just up here. So to-dos. Okay, so we've gotten that on top here. So what we want to do now, I want to list out these to-dos on this page. You understand? I want to list them out, something like this. So let's proceed. So what I need to do now, I'll clear out the extra to-do items. I only need one of it. So it's out. So now just underneath here, I'll say to-dos.map. You understand? So we're going to return an arrow function. So say to-do. Then after we've done that now, we'll simply copy this, Ctrl C or Ctrl X, and we paste here. Okay, so now let's see how it looks like. Okay, because now we have 4 items. Remember, we have 4 to-do items from our app components. We have 4 to-do items there, and on the screen now we have 4 items, but currently they are all having the same task. So I'm going to simply come down to my to-do list components. So just here now, we'll change this to to-do.task, to-do.task. Remember, from our app.js, you can see these are the tasks. You can see them. So that's it. So perfect. And so now we have all the tasks now displaying. And one more thing, we need to also go down to the parent of this component, the parent of these to-do items. So the parent is called this to-do list. So this is a parent up here. So you need to also pass a key attribute. So I'm going to say key should be equal to to-do.id. So the key has to be unique. So remember, every to-do has a unique ID. So that's it now. So I think that's done. So once you've done all this, so what's the next thing? Okay, before I forget, remember, you check closely. You can see we have this class. You can see we have classes here. In HTML, this is not wrong, this is normal, but in React, we can't use this keyword called class. That's because JavaScript also has a keyword called class. So if you do this, there might be a name clash. So in React now, every class is called class name. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to simply select all the class we have on this component and replace it and call them class name. So just highlight any of the class you see, highlight it, and then you hold down Ctrl D to select all the class you have on your page. So I think I've selected everything. So I can change now to class name. So you can see that it has changed. So everything is now called class name. So this is best practice. So we've done this already. So the next step I want to do next, I want to be able to delete to-do items. So we've been able to list them, so now let's delete them. So let's work on deleting each of the items. So we're going to go down to our app.jxs now, and we're going to create the delete function on this component because we are going to update the state of this to-do. We are going to update it, so we can only update in the file the to-dos was declared, was defined. That's the best way to go about it. So let's do that right now. So now I'll call my function here. So just say const, and I'll say delete to do. Okay, so once that's done, that's going to be equal to an arrow function. So we've done this now. So once to update the state of update the state of our to-dos, right? So we're going to use a function called set to-dos. Set then to-dos. Once we've done that now, so we say to-dos.filter. So we'll say to do. So we'll get, once we filter out all the to do that was so just watch now. So say to do.filter. So passing to do now. So we're going to do another arrow function again, and then we'll say to do.id not equal to the to the sent id. Remember, we're going to get an id here, so that's a parameter. So now let me explain what's happening over here. So now right here we are trying to filter out all to do that does not have the same id we are passing. Understand? So over here now, so from this to-do list now, so whenever I click on delete button, I'm going to send an id along to this component, to this base component called app.jxs. So what I'm going to now is I'm going to filter out all the items whose id are not the same as the id we are getting from the child component you get. So how is happening over here? We are just simply filtering to-do items whose id are not the same as this id we are getting from as id we are getting from the to-do list component. Hope you get. So right now we're going to pass this function as a prop so we can access it in this to-do list component. So we'll come over here and I'm going to say delete underscore to do. So you're going to simply equate that. You're going to say it should be equal to this function. So you're going to say delete to do. So this is the function now. So right now we need to receive this prop. Go down to the to-do list component and let's receive the prop. So say delete underscore to do. You get it? So that's that. So once you've gotten that, just come down to this delete button. So you're going to simply add a click event there. So say on click should be equal to. So it's going to also have an arrow function. That's because we are also passing an argument. Remember, this function we have here has a parameter. It has a parameter called id, and every parameter always requires an argument. Understand? So over here we could have just called it delete to do straight up, understand, but we can't do that because this function requires an argument. So whenever it needs an argument, you need to also return an arrow function here. That's how it says. So I'm going to just say delete to do, and now passing the id. So the id is going to be to do dot id. So dot id. So let's see. So the browser now, everything should work fine. So then I'll click on this. Can see it's gone. It deletes, right? It's gone. So that's it now. So our delete button is working. So the next phase now is to be able to add to-do items to our page, to the list of items. So I want to be able to add new items to the list of items you currently have. Okay, so right now let's start adding these items. So we're going to use React hook form to do this. To the browser now, so let's install the React hook form library or package, whatever it's called. So say npm install React hook form. So that's it. So form, yeah, enter. So once we install this, we'll start configuring to make it work. Okay, we already have the package installed. So we're going to go down to our to-do search component, which is up here. Okay, now so we need to do some importing. So I'll say import use form. So we're importing this from React hook form. So that's done. So once we've done that now, come down here and say const. So say register. So we are trying to now import register from React hook form. So it should be equal to use form. So these are it's being done. If you check the React hook form website, you see these are the configure it. So now we've gotten this register now from React hook from use form. So first of all, you have to get use form. You have to get use form from React hook form. So once you've done that, you can then get register from use form. So that's it now. So what I want to do now is I want to simply get the value from this input field. Instead, I want to get the value that's being passed to this input field. So let's do that right away. This is how it's done. So we put in an object, then you spread it. So we are going to spread this register because this register simply returns an object. You get, so it returns an object containing the fields in a form. The fields in a form containing the field names and their value in an object manner. Understand? So right now I'm simply spreading this register. So that's it now. So after I've done this, I'm going to simply give this, I'll give this field a name. I'm going to call this field task. So I'm going to flow the name of this object here. So I'm going to flow this name over here, this task. Remember, we are trying to create a new task, right? So I'm going to flow this property name called task. So that's it for that. So we've done that already. So I want to add a validation. I want to add a validation to this field, saying that this field is required. You must always pass in a value to this field. You get, so say required should be true. So that's it. So once you've done this already, so what's the next step? So you need to also import a function called undo submit. So this function will simply be responsible for submitting this form. Understand? So undo submit. So just up here, I'll simply say unsubmit should be equal to undo submit. So undo submit. So on this undo submit also returns an arrow function. So this is it. So say console.log data. So let's say what it returns. So to the browser now. Okay, now just enter it. So let's open our console F12. So our console is open. So put in a value here, put in a value there. Just click on learn JavaScript and click on add. Right now you can see now we have the value for this field. You can see the property name is called task. The value is called learn JavaScript, which is the value in the input field. So that's what this register does now. Register is an object, you understand? So that helps to it forms an object based on the input in the form, the input field in the form. Hope you understood now. So we have our task now, and the value is JavaScript. Remember, so if this field is empty, so let's make the field empty now. Click on this add. Nothing happens, right? It does not return anything. So it makes sure that you pass in a value into this field. So right now, you need to also return an error message that tells you that, oh, sorry, there is an error. This field is empty. This field is blank. You need to put in a value in that field. So let's do that right away. So we just come over here. We just undo. Let's call this. This is called. So we are going to simply bring in one more function. This function is called form state. Yeah, form state. So it's called form state. So in this function, we also have a function inside it. This method is called errors. So we are going to simply destructure and get the errors method from it. So now that's it. So once we have gotten that, just outside here, so we are going to check for error message. We are going to check for this validation we have here. You understand? So validation says that the field is required. That means you must pass in a value for you to submit the form. So let's come down here and just come over here. So we just come here, put on the curly braces and say errors dot task. Remember, that's not our field task. You understand? So errors dot task. So put on this. So say question mark then dot type. So I'm going to check now. So I'll explain what is going on. Required. So what's going on here is this now. So we are trying to see now if there is a validation on this field. If there is a required validation on this field. Currently we only have one validation that is required instead. So currently we only have one validation, and the validation is the required validation, right? So which means I must pass a value into the input field. So just here now we are trying to just check now if this validation is there and your field is empty. we are going to simply return this error. So this is the error here. I'm going to simply just say, so we just simply say this field can't be blank, instead cannot be blank. Understand? So that's it now. So you might be wondering why this errors is coming from form states, and this tax is the name of our field. So the type now, so you can wonder what does type stands for. So type, so we can have different validations. We can have required, we can have min length, we can have max length, a lot of them. So currently the type we are working on is the required validation, right? So we are saying if this error matches this required validation, so we are going to simply return this error message on the screen. So it's called field. So you might be wondering, why did we have to add the question mark? You can see we did errors.type question mark then we did errors.tax question mark dot type. So what this question mark does is this now. We might, there are points we might not have this field name called tax. We might not have this field name in our object. The attention might not have it, understand? So the attention might be null. So what this question mark does is this now. If this field name does not exist, it simply returns null, understand? But without this question mark, if this name does not exist, it's going to throw an error. But with the question mark that is there, it's going to simply just return null. There won't be any form of error you get. So that's why we have to use this question mark over here. So you can read more about it. You can read more about it on the React hook form on their website. You can read more about it. They explain everything there. So now to the browser, let's see. Just clear this now. So try submitting. You can see now we have an error message on the screen that says this field cannot be blank. You understand? So if I put in a value, you can see the error message has disappeared. You understand? So that's how it works now. So we've been able to validate the form. So the next step is to add these items to our to-do items. You understand? So how do you go about that? Remember, whenever you are trying to update the state, remember the state was declared here. Whenever you are trying to update the state, you must always have your function in the file where the state was created. You understand? That's it. So we're going to call this add to do. So should be equal. So it's going to also return an arrow function. Okay, so now I want to update this state. I want to add a new to-do item. So we're going to use this function called set to do's to update the state. So say set to do's, and then how do you go about? So let's continue. So before we proceed, remember we are going to pass this function to this undo submit. Instead, we're going to pass the function to this. So we're going to replace what we have here to this add to do function. You understand? So if you check closely, remember that this function we declared inside here has a parameter called data. You understand? So coming down to your app.jxs now, we're going to also add that same data here. So that data represents the new to do item that we are trying to add. That what data represents, you get. So right now this set to do's now, let's update this. So right now we want to update this to do's. So we just come here now, put in an array. So we are going to currently spread out the current to do's we have. We spread them out. After we've done this now, we continue again. So we are going to now then append the new data that we are going to now append the new data that is coming in. We are going to append the new data coming in. So we are going to say data. So now this is how we do it. So remember, from what we're doing here, we are only getting the tax. We are only getting value for tax. You understand? We are only getting value for the tax property from our input field. Remember, so we also need to get the value for ID and status. So how do you go about that? So we need to also the structure. So we need to also spread out. We need to also spread. So it should be equal to, I think. So we need to also spread out this current data. We need to also spread out this data that is coming in. We need to spread it out. Understand? So this is how we spread. So currently we spread this to do's. So let's spread this current data that is coming in. So it's an object, remember. So we're going to say dot triple dot in data. So we're going to pass in the value for status. So status is going to be active. So we're going to say status should remain active. So remember, if we didn't do this, we're going to simply have just this value, the tax value, and we check closely our object has three properties: ID, tax, and status. So it's also passing this other properties alongside the tax property you get. So I'll call this active. So active. So how do you get our ID? This is how we get the ID now. So I'll just do some calculations there. ID is going to be equal to this. Okay, so we'll say, so right now I want to get the ID of the last item, and then for us to get the incoming item, we need to then add 1 to the ID of the last item. So how do you go about that? So ID should be equal to, I'll say todos then square bracket todos.length minus 1. So right now I've gotten the last item in these to-dos, which is this last one. You understand? That's what I just did now. So I want to get the ID of the last item. I will then say .id plus .id. So I'm putting the ID of the last item, and then I'll then say +1. You understand? The +1. So +1. So putting the comma there. So I need to convert this. So why is it showing an error? Sorry, it should be a colon, not equal to. So I need to convert this to an integer. So I just say pass int. So pass then int. So right now it has been converted. Pass int. Okay, so as you're doing this, okay, now so I'll simply just console.log todos, console.log todos. So we'll see how it looks like todos. So now this is what we have now. So when we've done this now, we are going to pass this as a prop to the search component. So just say add underscore to do should be equal to add to do. So we have that over there. So once we've done this now, so we need to receive this, go down to your to do search, and let's receive that here. Say add underscore to do. Okay, so if you received it already, so this add to do is a function, and it's going to simply represent, it's going to simply replace what we have here. So remove that and then pass add to do. Okay, so let's see. So clear this. Okay, so let's try adding a new item now. So just come here and say read a book. So click on add, or you try an error. It says unvalid is not a function. So let's check let's see what the problem is. Oh, you can see this is a mistake here. It should be inside an object, so curly braces. I think that should work now. To the browser again, refresh this. So right now you can see now we have our to-dos item, but currently, so let's console.log data. That's a mistake. I should be data, not to-dos data. For I expected it to, let's see data. So the browser, click on read it. Let's refresh this. So you can see we have data now. Data as you can see it's now called, the value is called read a book. The ID is 5. Active is, the status is active. Remember, we want to add this new object to the list of to-do items we currently have. Install, that's what we want to do now. We get, so that's it. We want to add these items to the list of to-dos we currently have. Okay, so let's see. You can see it has already been added. It has been added. I didn't even take note of that. It has been added. You can see I've read the book there twice. It appeared twice. So let's add one more. Let's just refresh and start this again. So just say, let's say learn, let's say Python. So click on add. It has been added. You understand? That's good. So the ID says it's 4. That's correct. 4. If we check closely, the last item on the list is the ID is 3. So currently the new item is the ID is 4. If you add again, let's just put in a double M and click on add. You can see the ID is now 5. You can see our calculation is correct. So that's it now. But if you check closely, there's a problem here. So whenever we add it to do, we want to make sure that this field goes blank. You understand? So how to go about that? So go down to your search components. So we're almost done. Search components here. Here's it here. So you need to do one, once you import the reset function. So once we've done this now, to this on submit, so now we're going to simply now return an arrow function. So save data. So we passed here, and then we just highlight this curly braces. So once you've done this here, passing your data here. So you're passing your data there. So let's just break this into another line. So the reason why I'm doing this is because we want to add another function. That's why we are doing this. That's the reason why I am doing this like this. So without this reset function, it could have been left the way it was before. So just add a semicolon, and then we're going to simply just return the. So we're going to simply call the reset function reset. Understand? So remember, this data represents the new to-do item you're about to add. To understand how all this data represents. So this is it now. So I think everything should work now to the browser. So let's add a new stuff. Let's just say play. Let's just say let's refresh the page. Let's say go to school. So add. You can see it has been added, and our form has been cleared. The input field has been set to blank again. It's now blank, and everything is working fine. We check closely. We're having an error that says we're having an error message. So let's go find where we have class, and we place it with class name. So I think that's being to do search. So if you check closely, change this to class name. That's the only place we have it. So class name. So let's see, refresh. So everything is fine now. Okay, so we'll stop here for this part. So we'll call this part 1. We'll stop here. I don't want to make the video too long. So in this episode, we've been able to list out our to-do items. We've been able to add new to-do items, and we can also delete these to-do items. You understand? So in the next part, we're going to work on updating the to-do item. Also, we'll be able to set to-dos to completed, because on default they are all active. So in the next part, we're going to learn how to set these to-dos to completed. Just the way we have here, you could check them, you could set them to completed, and also we are going to also work on filtering these to-dos based on their status. You understand? So that will all be in the next video. So just here, let me just share from this one I've done before. So right here, we can update a given to do. If you come here, updates, we could also set them we could also set this to completed if you want to. And lastly, we can also filter this based on their status. So we're going to cover all this in the next video. So stay tuned for that. So we'll meet in the next video.